Hello everyone, I'm Bella and welcome back to my channel. I have another reading vlog for you today, and the genre of this vlog's books is, drumroll please, dark romance. I haven't touched much into dark romance. I've only read 2 dark romances thus far. First one was Malice and the second one was Lights Out. I did have a lot of fun with those. They were entertaining. I rated both a 3. I wouldn't say that they were anything fantastic, but they were very entertaining. I did listen to Lights Out on audio and I do recommend that. I heard all about it on TikTok and all over the internet and booktube, and it is very enjoyable to listen to. The different narrators really got into character and there were parts where I was laughing out loud. So for Lights Out, I would recommend the audiobook. Anyways, that said, I have a lot of options, and the 3 that I chose for the TBR for today's video, first is going to be book 1 of the Mindf series, and the first book is called The Risk, and this series is by St. Abby. Funny play on words there. And the cover, I honestly thought that it was going to be like vampire Twilight, like a play off of Twilight or something like that, which I guess wouldn't really make sense because I guess Twilight is already a play off of a dark romance, which would be 50 Shades of Grey. Is 50 Shades of Grey considered a dark romance? I would say so, right? Or is that like a contemporary romance with a billionaire? I don't know, but I know Twilight was based off of, in a way, 50 Shades of Grey. It was inspired by 50 Shades of Grey. So when I first saw this cover, I really thought that maybe this was Twilight-esque. I thought maybe it had to do with vampires, but it does not have to do with vampires. The second TBR of this video is Insatiable by Lee Rivers. This is the first of the Edge of Darkness trilogy. I have heard many good things about Insatiable, and people cry at the end and they get very like emotionally invested and that it's tragic and it's just kills your heart. So I'm very excited to see how I am going to react to this book and if I'm going to cry. Let's take our bets now. I know you guys don't know me very much because this is only my second vlog, but let me know if you think I'm going to cry or not. I do actually cry very easily at everything. Like I'll watch a sad commercial or a sweet commercial and that will make me cry. I cry in cartoons and stuff all the time, but I will say with books, I don't cry very often. Although I don't read a lot of sad books, so I guess it's just going to depend. I did cry in Just for the Summer a lot, but I think that was more just because I really related to the characters in there, and I cried in Harry Potter, but I mean, so we'll see how I enjoy Insatiable. And all right guys, this is the last one, Haunting Adeline by H.D. Carlton. I feel like this is the dark romances of dark romances per the internet. I know it's not like supposed to be like the greatest of all time or anything. I just know there is a lot of hype to it, and one thing about me is I want to know and I want to be in the know and I want to have my opinions on the things that are popular and going around in pop culture. So I am excited to get into all of these books. I am keeping Haunting Adeline for the last book. It looks like actually every book I chose is part of a series. If I enjoy it, maybe we can do a part 2 of continuing the dark romances that I read. The one is a trilogy. Insatiable is a trilogy. Mindf series has 5 books and Haunting Adeline is a duet. That will be interesting to see if I will be interested in continuing the series. I always hope that I'll be interested in continuing a book series, so fingers crossed on that. And in addition to the reading, we're also going to be doing crafty and fun, cozy hobby things. So update from the last video, last reading vlog with my Sailor Moon cardigan. Also, okay, so I'm in Austin. I live in Austin right now. It's the beginning of February and it is so hot already. I know I'm in a sweater because I'm trying to be cozy. I'm trying to hold on to it, but it was a little bit cold in Austin in January and now it's like 70 something degrees today towards the beginning of February. So I'm gonna end up finishing this cardigan and not even being able to wear it because it's freaking hot and it's not even like winter anymore here. But I have a ton of the granny squares done. I have all the granny squares done, and now I need to attach them all, which isn't the most fun. I did at least weave in all the ends already, so that's good. I'm also going to be cutting my hair. I cut my own hair, I gotta do that. And I'm getting ready to go on Temptation Cruise towards the end of February, and Temptation Cruise is like an adults only spicy cruise. I go on that every year. We're actually gonna go on 2 Temptation Cruises this year, and with those spicy cruises, they always have different theme nights for every single night. It's a 5-night cruise. So I need to finish getting ready with making some of the accessories and making some of the outfits for the theme night. So we're going to be doing that in this vlog as well. And that's enough yapping for the intro. So let's go ahead and get started on our first book, The Risk. Currently reading The Risk by S.T. Abby, first in the Mindf series, and it's giving very Dexter vibes, very You from Netflix, that TV show. It's giving that kind of vibe. So it follows 2 characters mainly. Lana is the FMC and the MMC is Logan. So Lana is a serial killer, but the whole like Dexter part that goes into it is she only kills bad people. She was a victim when she was younger, and we don't really know what happened yet. They're pretty vague about it. We just know that she was definitely abused and had a very, very traumatizing, horrible event happened to her whenever she was younger. She meets Logan, and he works in the FBI. So he actually works with trying to find serial killers. He's like an FBI profiler or serial killer profiler. And so it's fun having that. It kind of feels like if Deborah Morgan, like Dexter's sister, was the main character. Although I hated Deborah in that show. She was insufferable. I hated watching her. And even now I'm watching Dexter Original Sin, and I swear she's worse as a teenager than she even is as an adult on the show. I don't know what it is about her. It's just not my cup of tea. Anyways, the book is fun. It's really short. I'm like flying through it. I'm like almost 60%, 50% of the way through, and I feel like I haven't even been reading for that long. Maybe like an hour and a half or something like that. Maybe an hour. I don't keep track. That literally was like the very last sentence was the cliffhanger. You know, like whenever you have a TBR prompt jar, and then maybe one of the prompts is choose a book that has like a very interesting last sentence. Don't read the last sentence of this book. I mean, I wouldn't say it gave it away, but that cliffhanger is crazy. Back with a reading update. I have finished The Risk, and this is the cover, by the way, and this is on Kindle Unlimited, so you can read it really easily, and it's free, well, if you have Kindle Unlimited. So if you're wanting to read it, you definitely can, easily accessible. But I don't like the cover that much. It's kind of weird. I don't know. Also, like, it looks like it says Mindf, and all I can see with this is like what is that thing called? What is that thing called that you put the needles in when you're sewing? Needle holder? That's not what it's called. You know what I'm talking about. That's all I can see. It looks like one of the, it's not a thimble. Like the one that looked like a tomato that you put all your needles in. Anyways, that's all I can see it looking like. So this book, it's so short. It's only 132 pages. So I was only gonna read 3 books in this video, but I'm gonna go ahead and read the second book because that was so short. Because it's so short, I feel like it's missing so much. And it really needs to be like, maybe not twice as long, but it needs to be longer. I don't need like super duper graphic details of, you know, everything, but we don't even really know how she commits the murders. And I know that it's part of the series too, but we don't really know anything about what happened to her whenever she was younger that caused her to become like this. And I think that the chemistry between them just feels, I guess, rushed because there's just not enough time. And the spice really isn't that spicy either. I mean, I still liked it. It's enjoyable. I want to know what happens. It left off on a good cliffhanger. I was like, oh, wasn't expecting that. What does that mean? It makes you want to go ahead and read the next book. The writing is quick and it's so fast. I know the book is short, but it just feels like you just fly by. I wouldn't say it's like as juicy as I'd say maybe a Frida McFadden kind of thriller type book, but I am excited to know what happens in the second one, so I'm gonna go ahead and start it. All right, everyone, I am here with an update. There's just not enough, I think, in these books. The books are so short, and the story is interesting. The storyline is interesting. The idea of it is interesting, but even with the romance, I was just expecting a lot more. Even with the covers, you would think it'd be a lot more steamy and I would feel the chemistry a lot more, but I feel like it's just missing a lot of background information. I'm missing a lot of scenes that will make me really love the characters. And we're getting little bits and pieces of her past and her background, which I know is part of it. So I really think that I just need to keep going with the entire series to really be able to have my like full opinion on it. It feels like whenever you're watching like a limited series and these are the first 2 episodes, I'm just not getting enough yet, but I feel like I will, and it will pay off at the end. And I said this in the last book too, where we're just not getting enough, I guess, descriptions of most things. With even the murders, like I want to know the who, what, where, when, and why. And to me, the writing is just giving crumbs. Like I said, I don't know if it's going to all make sense in the end, so I am going to continue reading the series, but I'm not going to continue it right now. I really want to move on to the next book, but before we do that, look at what I found out about this author. This needs to be a podcast. A podcast needs to be made about this. I think it would be so interesting. So the author's name, St. Abby, is a pen name, and the author's real name is Christy Owens. After I finished the books, I was looking for reviews of them, and I came across this crazy turn of events. So the author, Christy Owens, actually died in 2021. I went down this like Reddit rabbit hole. So this person says, I worked with Christy at Ferguson and Fort Payne, Alabama before she got famous. She had went to blank high school before that, and I heard she was really popular there. I also worked with her husband, Seth. She got really rich after writing these romance novels, and apparently they had swords in their house hanging on the walls as part of their decor. They got into a huge fight, and she ran at him and was going to stab him, so in defense, he shot her. This is what everyone we worked with has said. Very sad what happened to her. I still can't believe how famous she got, blah, blah, blah. She was always very pretty and gave off a strong sexual vibe at work, so it makes sense that she would write novels like that, although I've never read any of them. That is a comment on Reddit. Then it gets even crazier and like juicier because I found another comment in a forum, and it says, so from what I have seen, she was having a really hard time coping with an assault that happened to her from a man who is in some form related to her husband. Okay, and also, I don't know if any of this is true, okay? This is just what I saw on the internet. I'm just a girl on the internet. I'm just reading what I read on the internet. Once she confronted said man, she was having really bad anxiety attacks from doing so, and with her husband telling her to do it, she pulled her books. Of course, I would say the money from those book sales were being missed, so she posted them back up. Coming to the confrontation with her husband, something's telling me that because her husband was related to the man that assaulted her, he wasn't as supportive as what a husband should have been when his wife tells him she was assaulted, probably downplaying her trauma or possibly even saying things along the lines of "you asked for it," which prompted her to stab him, and in return he shot her. What? So those are all theories, and I had no idea in the middle of reading this that the author isn't alive anymore and she was murdered, and nothing really even came from the case because it says here it happened in Alabama and her husband was more likely arrested and let go the same night because technically it was self-defense. This person says, I don't understand why her family, her mom, dad, sisters wouldn't want this to be public knowledge if so, but that's just my theory, nothing proving that this happened. So They also said, I've seen somewhere where somebody was possibly making one of her series into a movie or possibly a series. I feel like if that were to happen and many more people were to look into her death, more people were closer to the family would be speaking out more. What? Like, it sounds crazy. Like, it almost sounds like a story itself.
This author who writes all of these different books, and some of them dark romance, and she allegedly has been assaulted and then ended up getting murdered by her husband, but it ended up being self-defense.
Like, what happened? It sounds crazy. I couldn't believe it. I was shocked. I need to finish reading the Mindf series. I'd love to get into her other books sometime too. She goes by different pen names for each genre that she writes books in. So that's crazy, right? I don't know how no one has really talked about this. I've heard about this series so many times, but I've never heard the backstory of the author. So with the first 2 books in the Mindf series, I'm gonna give them both a 3. The series as a whole could be higher. I'm hoping that maybe all of the books together will be a 4 or something. I am still optimistic, but the first 2 just wasn't enough for me. Left me with crumbs. I need more. I need to feel like I ate a meal and it felt like I ate almost a snack. So I've moved on to Insatiable by Lee Rivers. This is the second book that I'm reading in this vlog, and I'm actually about 55% of the way through with this book so far, and I'm liking it. I'm not obsessed with it yet. I think that, again, there is a chance. I'm hoping that I'm going to enjoy it even more. This is a dark romance about Cade, who is the MMC, and Stacy, who is the FMC, and Cade is obsessed with Stacy. They actually were together. Something happened where now he feels like he's betrayed by her, and so it's going through this tumultuous relationship of them right now, and then also him reflecting on the past and her reflecting on the past. It's stalker vibes as well. He still is obsessed and loves her, but also hates her at the same time. Is it enemies to lovers, or it's like ex-enemies to lovers? They're currently exes right now, and they both don't really like each other at all. There's a lot of violent things happening conflict-wise, especially what he does for work, and there's a lot of hate happening. Very spicy. I'm just not obsessed yet, but I am ready to be emotionally wrecked. Apparently that's gonna happen sometime closer to the end or something. But we're actually gonna go and watch a movie now. It's called Love Hurts, also in 40X. I always like going into movies completely blind. We have an unlimited movie pass, so we go to the movies quite often, and I find it really fun to go in there completely blind and not knowing about what the movie is about. So I will let you guys know how I enjoy that whenever we get home. I don't
These are kind of turtley things.
You look straight from like zoomies. This is like what he wore in high school. Aww. It's actually pretty cute. I kind of like the blue. Fun package from a friend. We got a care package that our friends sent us. They are some of our swinger friends, and there's some of that's why there's all the pineapples on here. So we're really excited to see what's in here. They live in Germany right now. Usually we'll get like different kinds of goodies, like candies and stuff that we don't typically see here. And
also the candy uses like different like real sugar in Europe because of the standards, and so European candy is way better. And I know they're gonna send hippos. They sent us them like years ago, and it's one of my favorite candies of all time. And I know they're not gonna send one of these boxes and not put that in there, because they know how much I love Kinder Hippo. Also, as she opens that, look at my new shirt. I thrifted this Jonas Brothers shirt yesterday, $1. Pretty proud of it. Okay.
It's really cool because it's like all of the different. They had one concert where they did all of their albums. It's kind of like the Eras tour, but Jonas Brothers, and they only did it for one night. Also, the friends who sent this might be watching this video, so if you guys are watching, thank you so much. We'll send you a text, obviously. Oh, you were right. We got this. This is the first one. Oh my gosh, there's so much candy in here.
I see one.
You saw one what? Oh, a hippo?
This is one of the best candies of all time.
They're so cute. Look how tiny the bag is. They look like mini brands. Oh, that one has a pineapple on it.
Oh, another hippo. Let's go.
What a cute little gift here. Oh, she put in this little picture that has you guys together. Oh, she told me she was going to send me this. Guys, wait. It's a lighter.
I'm saving this for my birthday.
In 3 months.
Sour
Glue
version. Really sour glue wormage. Glue wormage. Glue wormage. Sour glue wormage.
We watched the movie Love Hurts yesterday in 40X, and it was a silly, fun time. The story was actually kind of like a dark romance in a movie type of format. The characters, I couldn't really believe that they were in love though, so that was kind of hard to wrap my head around, but the movie itself, I did have a lot of fun. I'm also about 85% of the way done with Insatiable now, and y'all, chapter 26 was so crazy. I was shook. I'm still not like obsessed with the book though. I will say that was a very memorable scene that will stick with me for all time. I was so hoping that this would be my Roman Empire and that I would love these characters, and I've just heard so much about this dark romance book being so incredible, and I mean, there's still like 20% left. It could have changed. I was hoping I would be really into it from the beginning. Here's the update on this skirt. I've actually got quite a bit done since starting it last night on the way to the movies. Remember when I said I'm going on Temptation Cruise? So they have different themes every single night, and there's always a glow night theme. And so this yarn will glow under the black light, but I don't have a little orange skirt. I always wear the same greenish yellowish glow skirt, so I wanted something new. Also, these ones are really easy for me to make because there's like not that much of a pattern. It's pretty much just making a waistband and then doing treble crochets with increases and then some mesh pattern. That's what I have so far, but I'm almost done with Insatiable. I'm at like 97%. So, and I haven't cried, okay? I don't know if people are crying like throughout the entire thing or if something at the end is going to really get me. So I'm gonna get my reaction to see what happens. So if you like enemies to lovers, second chance romance, definitely read the trigger warnings. There is a lot of trauma and violence and assault. There's best friend's brother trope. There's a ton of the whole book is pretty much a miscommunication trope. There also is a step siblings trope, but it's not with the FMC and MMC. If you like all of those things, you might really like this book. I personally think that I have found out through reading this, it's not for me. Okay, I'm putting you guys down so I can talk with my hands and not have to hold it. So the spice was steamy, it was hot, but every single time it was just all about,
I hate this person, I hate her so much, I'm still going to, I love her so much though, so like we're still gonna have sex all the time.
I just got tired of it, and I know that's like part of the trope is the enemies to lovers. They really are like enemies right now. I was hoping that I was going to love it. I was hoping that it would make me cry. I was hoping that I would love the characters and I would love their love story, but I couldn't connect to them at all. And miscommunication is one of my biggest pet peeves when it comes to conflicts in the book. And so whenever the whole entire book has that as its main conflict, I'm just like, well, you just talk to each other, like, can you just tell him? It just wasn't enough for me to want to continue the other book. I'm just going to read spoilers so I know what happens. I hope that the conflicts that were in this that didn't get addressed so you could read the second book, I do hope that all of those we figure out. I think that it was entertaining. If you like that kind of tropes that I listed and you like dark romance, I do really think that you would enjoy it. I just think it's not for me. I'm gonna go ahead and start reading Haunting Adeline. So we'll see how I do with this one. I'm interested to see how I feel with Haunting Adeline. It's time for a haircut. I've cut my own hair since, I know in 2020 for sure I did the haircut by myself where it's like long layers and I do a kind of curtain bang. However, this time I'm going to kind of do the same thing, but I'm doing a little bit more of a butterfly cut. So I think the layers are going to be a tad shorter than they typically are. So this is just what my hair looks like naturally. And I'm gonna go ahead and get that done. I'm going to record this part as like a short so I can post it on Instagram, TikTok, so then we're gonna move it vertically. Here's the aftermath, by the way. I taped a Chili's bag for my hair. Oh my Ew. Well, I will not be reading the second book. That I know for sure. I will now go look up spoilers so I know what happens in the second book without having to read and spend that much time in this world that I absolutely hated. I'm here with a last book update for the video, and we have finished Haunting Adeline, and boy do I have a lot of opinions for you. There are not many books that I would rate in the one category, and this one is one of them. If I could, I think I would rate it a 0, but I can't, so a 1 will have to suffice.
It is so bad, I want to give you a 0, but that's not possible. So I give you a 1.
My issue with the book isn't even the themes, which is already very problematic, but they do give trigger warnings, so make sure you read over those and know what you're getting into before you think about reading the book. Haunting Adeline is a stalker romance. It follows Zaid, who is the MMC, and Adeline, who is the FMC. It starts off with her at her grandparents' house, who she lives at now. She's trying to find out things about her grandmother's murder. During this time when she's in this haunted-ish kind of house, has creepy vibes, she starts to get stalked. And that stalker is Zaid. So it follows Zaid and Adeline throughout this entire chase, I guess you could say. Adeline is just going on her merry little way, and Zaid sets his eyes upon her and decides that she will be his. He will do anything by force to get her to love him, and he does many non-consensual acts with her to get her to love him. Meanwhile, he also takes down trafficking rings and saves women and children. That is the basis of the book. And honestly, at the beginning, I was really into it. It kind of read more like a thriller. I was interested in the murder of her grandma. There were these letters that you were reading that she was writing. And then Zaid came in. The themes of the book are problematic to begin with. Of course, you know what you're getting into because you read the trigger warnings. And yes, those are all problematic, but I knew what I was getting into. I knew that this was a dark romance, and my issue with it isn't even the themes, it is the fact that he is such a hypocrite. I see no redeeming qualities about Zaid. All he does is, in a way, justify what he does to Adeline, because while he is doing that to her and doing all of these non-consensual acts and manipulating her and being just an asshole of a character, he also has some superhero complex, I guess, where he is saving people. If you're going to be a morally gray or morally black character, own up to it. Just completely be that and don't be a hypocrite. So while he is doing all of these non-consensual things to Adeline, manipulating her, torturing her, making her fall in love with him when he doesn't even do anything that's romantic. He does nothing. He has no redeeming qualities in that sense where it makes it believable that she would actually fall in love with him. I can even see it in a way where it was more of a Stockholm syndrome type thing, where maybe he takes care of her in certain ways even though he is a horrible person and forcing her to do things and manipulating her, but he does other things, so then she thinks that she's in love with him and then she just kind of makes herself believe that she is. None of that happens. He basically just continues to assault her, and then all of a sudden they love each other. And meanwhile, while he's doing this, he is so angry and mad and upset at anybody else who does exactly what he does to other people. So he justifies it by, I guess, him going out and saving them. There was a scene where he continuously gave her roses, but he would cut off the thorns so she didn't hurt herself or she didn't cut herself whenever she picked up the roses, and apparently that was supposed to be like some redeeming quality about him. My husband said it perfectly, but he said that that's giving the same energy as just not giving somebody raw chicken. It's not even like the bare minimum. It just makes sense to not do that. So because that's written in a way where we're supposed to be swooning over him as a character, because of that, it makes no sense to me. Like I said, if he was just a bad guy and just owned up to the fact that he was a bad guy and just owned up to the fact that he was doing these things to her that he hates so much, if that was even talked about, it would have made the book not as bad. It's so unbelievably frustrating with how hypocritical and contradictory he is. If you have characters like Joker and Harley Quinn, or like a Bonnie and Clyde situation where they're both horrible people, they're both horrible characters, or even when it was like just Joker by himself, he doesn't try to go and do anti-hero type things to make him, I guess, feel better as a person. He just knows that he's doing bad things and does them and owns up to them. And Zaid has such a God complex that he doesn't ever even think that that is something that could be a possibility. And we don't even get any lore or any reasoning or any character development of why he's like this. And because of that, there's just no connection. I don't care for him. I just hate him. I don't think I've hated a character more in a book more than Zaid. And that even goes from Umbridge. At least Professor Umbridge in Harry Potter, she's like one of the other most horrible characters I've ever read in a book, or fictional characters in general. At least she knows that she's a shitty person. She knows what she's doing. It just made no sense. I know it's fiction, but at least make it a good story. And I felt like it was so completely flat. It felt like it was written just for pure shock value more than anything, which I understand. If you're going to make something shocking, at least have something of substance behind it. I'll put a trigger warning here and I'll leave it like up the entire time as I read this quote in case you don't want to hear about it, because it is a very disgusting, like non-consensual thing. There were many times that this happened during the reading of this book where I was having horrible, like visceral, angry reactions, but this one I read and I had such a reaction that my husband, because I was in a different room and my husband had to ask if I was okay. I like wanted to punch something. I was so mad. In this scene, Zaid and his work partner, he's supposed to be watching over Adeline and basically protecting her. And his partner says, "Do you think she'll like it when I stalk her too?" I pin him with a glare. "You watch her for any purpose other than ensuring her safety, I'll cut off and feed it to you." His face scrunches up in disgust, but I don't miss the flash of terror in his eyes. "Just kidding, dude," he assures, his hands raised in surrender. "I like my women willing." A wicked smile forms, though the heat in my eyes remains. "Sounds like me, you don't understand a woman's body well enough to know when it sings for you, even when her mouth tries to resist." His whole reasoning of being a hypocrite, which he doesn't even see that's what he's being, right? His reason that it's different is he just knows. He just knows how she feels about him. All of the times that she said no, he just knows. Which, like I said, I know this is a dark romance. I know that is part of it. But don't be a hypocrite. Don't make the one thing that he does as a redeeming quality and to go save people from the same thing happening to them, but you're gonna go and do the same thing to the person who you say you love. When she falls in love with you, when you don't even do anything that is loving towards her. The only thing I can see as somebody thinking of him as being romantic is him protecting her in the way that he just hurts anybody who like looks at her a certain way. That's literally it. There's a part where Zaid says, "As if showing any amount of skin is a damn invitation to be kidnapped." Okay, well, if you believe that, then why did you do it? And I think it just comes down to a God complex. There were also multiple times when they were doing it and she's screaming like, "Oh my God," and then he says, "That's right, I am your God." So that's all it comes down to, is he just has a God complex and he can do whatever he wants. But if you're going to write that, if that's going to be how he is, give me a good reason for it, and don't be a hypocrite and don't contradict yourself. That's literally all I ask. I literally hated Zaid so much, and all of the things that were happening were so bad to the point where I didn't even want to imagine real people. Typically, I like to think of a fan cast in my head too. If they were actors, they would be these characters, but it was so bad that I didn't even want to put actual people in these roles. And so when I was looking up pictures or fan art, I had to like actually look up only like cartoon drawings or illustration drawings of these characters to picture them. Like I had to think of it more like a graphic novel than an actual movie, which is typically what I do for books, is think of it like a movie in my head. Needless to say, I will not be reading the second book in this duet. I did look up the spoilers and I know what happens, and apparently the first half of the book is just very graphic torture porn anyway. So again, it just comes down to being shocking, which makes sense. I can see that. I can see a piece of media, a book, something written just being shocking, but just give me some good reason behind why it's shocking. This book was so unnecessarily incredibly long. I'm not gonna say I'm completely against dark romances. The themes and the trigger warnings are horrible, yes, but I know that going into it. It's not the idea that it's a dark romance, it's the fact that it's a poorly written and undeveloped characters, and there's nothing for me to root for that makes it horrible. So Haunting Adeline, I do give a 1 star, 0 if I could. I do believe in DNFing books. However, I feel like because of the hype behind this, it almost felt like a rite of passage to read this super popular dark romance book, being in like the booktube or booktok or book creator space. I do like having opinions on media and movies and entertainment that is significant in pop culture and significant in the book community. So that's why I continued reading it. I feel so naive, or maybe I give the benefit of the doubt so often to books that like by the time that I'm 50% of the way through and think I want to DNF, I think, well, maybe it's going to be okay. Maybe it's going to end up being really, really good because of all of the good reviews of it. If so many people like it, it has to be worth it in the end, right? And unfortunately, with multiple of the books I read in this video, that wasn't the case. Going to the first 2 books in this video was the first 2 books in the Mindf series, The Risk and Sidetracked. They were so short, I'm not getting enough substance behind it to really care about what's happening. I do want to finish it, so I will continue the rest of the series so I know what happens, and it's so fast and quick, and I don't absolutely despise the characters like I do in Haunting Adeline. So I would say those ones are the ones I probably enjoyed the most out of this vlog. The second book, Insatiable by Lee Rivers, I'm also gonna go ahead and give a generous 3. It's probably more like a 2.75. I don't really want to do quarter ratings, and I think it's better than a 2.5. It was interesting enough to get me to the end, but the second book is just too long. I don't care enough to spend hours reading about what's going to happen to the characters. And as a person who hates miscommunication tropes in books, it's just so frustrating to read, knowing that there wouldn't really be conflict or plot if they just talk to each other. And so that's why I like whenever there is conflict, if they're going to have miscommunication, at least maybe have them talk about it and then have the characters be upset at what's happening and maybe make that the plot or in the conflict. For me, that's what's going to make a book a better read. I just hate miscommunication, or I guess hiding things, hiding communication so much. Just like use your words and express your feelings. And that brings us to the end of this video of me reading only dark romance for a week. I hope you guys enjoyed following along. If you have any dark romances that you think I would like after hearing my opinions on these popular ones, please leave them down below. I really would like to read a really good dark romance. I'm not triggered by the crazy kinks or trigger warnings that the books give. Like I said, it's not that. It's just so frustrating when the characters suck. Like Lights Out, for example. I actually really enjoyed Lights Out. That was a fun read for me. Yeah, there were issues with it, but not to the point where I completely hated it and it was boring. I'm going to take a break from dark romances. My next reading vlog is going to also be dark, but not dark romance. It's going to be reading only dark academia books for a week. So hopefully I will find some better reads in that one. And again, thank you guys for coming along and watching along. And I'm so happy to have you guys here in my little cozy corner. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.